Okay, we're live. Welcome to the sermon you're not getting this week. Today we're looking at 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 3 and 7 through 15. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from a skin disease. Now the Arameans, on one of their raids, had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his skin disease." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to give death or life, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his skin disease? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the skin disease. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" He turned and went away in a rage. But his servants approached and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. He came and stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Please accept a present from your servant." So when I was student teaching, my cooperating teacher, Brett Epperson, told this story of how he had gotten this advice about show choir. He wasn't really a show choir guy himself, but he ran a big show choir program, a pretty successful show choir program. And early on, somebody told him that you should take the speaker, the amp from your band, and you should face it toward the risers that the show choir is dancing on, not toward the audience, not out toward the audience. Face it into the risers, and he thought, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to face it toward the audience. Obviously, that seems intuitive. That's the right way to do it." And shortly thereafter, he realized, "Oh man, I should have just faced it in toward the risers. That was the right advice." And I suspect many of us have probably been through an experience like this where we get some advice that seems maybe counterintuitive or maybe simply too easy, and so we think, no, 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 I'm going to be different. I'm going to do it my own way. I'm going to figure it out on my own. I don't want to take this advice. I don't want to ask for help and get help. I don't want to do this the easy way. I want to do this my way. And I can use myself as an example here. There's a lot of people in my music education degree who would say, well, Gary, if you want to get good at something, all you have to do is, dedicate 30 minutes to an hour a day to practicing it, and then you'll get better. And for some reason, I thought, no, I don't want to take that advice. I just want to get magically better on my own without practicing. And on the one hand, you could say that, well, maybe I was just being lazy, but I don't think that's the only thing at play here. Part of it is we want to just be magically better at things. We want things to magically work the way that we intuit them to work, because if we do, if that's how we get it done, then we can say, "I'm the genius that figured this out without help." We have a good story. Uh, we have at least the story that we want to have. And we see a lot of stories like that out there about a very overly simplified way of getting to a conclusion, ignoring the hard work, the dedication, and the discipline that goes into it, because we really do want that story. And sometimes it's not so much that we don't do it because we want to we don't practice because we want to magically be good at something. Sometimes we do genuinely think that, no, this practice thing is beneath me. I'm too good for this. I can be spending my time doing something else something more important than just sitting there and practicing something that seems like a waste of time. Whatever our excuses to ignore good advice, and we have many, we end up a lot of times just like Naaman here, where whether it's pride, whether it's stubbornness, whether it's we want to figure out how to do things on our own, we will not take the easy and good advice. And I have to wonder if there's not, if that's not true of spirituality as well. When I was in seminary, we read this book. I think it was called 50 Ways to Pray, and it was about the idea of if you're a pastor in a church and you have a little prayer group that meets, you could try all of these different ways to pray and see how people like them, educate them, and develop their spiritual life. And I think that's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not coming after this book here. I'm not trying to disparage the idea that this book was presenting. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder, are some people using a whole long list of different ways to pray because just closing their eyes and folding their hands and bowing their heads is just not good enough for them? Uh, Now I lay me down to sleep or Come Lord Jesus are just not good enough for them. Um, the prayers that we have in church are just not special. We need something mystical. We need something ancient, or we need something colorful and dynamic and dramatic. We need something special. And sometimes we need something that only I do. I have to invent my own way of praying, so that other people will say, wow, that's really interesting. I'd like to try that. We want it to somewhat be about us. We have to find something new and unique and different so that we have the story, so that we can take pride in our accomplishment of doing something special, something new. Sometimes we want to change things for the sake of changing things because then we are the ones that affected the change, that we made as something different and it stuck and it worked. And we will try things that don't work over and over and over, different things that don't work again and again and again in search of just that one thing that works because we desperately want to be the one that pioneers, that coins a new way of doing something. Much better than listening to the old advice. Somebody else gets credit for that. I want something new. I want to discover something on my own. And I must imagine that the same is true not only of our spiritual life, but also the life of a Christian in general. We want to go on a great journey, the stereotypical mountaintop experience where you reach enlightenment because something amazing happened to you. We want to have sorry, something popped up on my screen. We want to have, we want to re-articulate the gospel in a new and interesting way. This is the social gospel. This is a gospel for today. This is a gospel specifically to this group of people that we need to reach out to meet. We don't want to use the same tried and true things. We don't want to say, no, you can be a faithful disciple of Christ just by going to church and telling your friends and family about the gospel and what it means to you. And that can be enough. We want something special, a conversion experience, a born-again experience, something to make a story about, something to make us unique and interesting and different, something that we can take personal pride in. And again, I think we make the same mistake that Naaman makes here. When it ultimately comes down to it, the answer is simple. Go wash in the Jordan River. For you, you can probably do all you need to do as a disciple of Christ without going more than 30 miles away from your home most days. Do your work. Pray, read the Bible, make sure that your friends and family know Jesus, and that's about it. Come to church, pray, support your fellow Christians in whatever way you can. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need to travel the world. You don't need to be a missionary. It's important that some people are, but you don't have to be. You can be a faithful disciple of Christ without big, dramatic, dynamic steps. You can be a faithful disciple of Christ that simply bathes in the Jordan River, so to speak. You don't need a great story. You don't need to meet heroes. You can just be you. Because the good news is, it's not up to us or the interestingness of our stories. It's not up to us, or the pride we take in our work. It's not up to us, or how dynamic a change we can make to make things really new and interesting. It's up to God. And the work is already done. And the advice that was given years ago still stands. The command is still the same. Trust God, love one another, and make disciples of all nations. That's enough. Thanks be to God. Amen.